Hi folks, the Filipina P here. And today I've got an incredible story about a very prolific scammer. A young Japanese woman who not only managed to take $2 million from unsuspecting men, but actually sold her strategy as a guide for other aspiring scammers to follow, which ultimately led to her arrest. But this is more than just a fascinating case. It's also a cautionary tale for all you guys out there. And when you see exactly how she did it, you might recognize some of the same tactics being used by the woman you're talking to. And even if you think you're immune to scams like this, think again. You might just be the perfect target. Whenever I do a video like this, I invariably get comments that say, P, why are you telling women how to pull off the perfect scam? Just shut up about it. And while I can see your point, I think the potential benefits far outweigh the risk. First of all, my audience is 94% male, so for every 100 people that watch it, only 6 are women. The rest are guys that can use this info to defend themselves. Secondly, if a woman wants to become a more effective scammer, this strategy is already out there and it's pretty easy to find. So the women that are hell-bent on separating you from your money probably already know about it. It's kind of like if I made a video about the weak spots in a country's infrastructure that are at risk from terrorist attack. I doubt I'd be giving a dedicated terrorist any ideas they hadn't already thought of. But maybe I'd open the eyes of people who could figure out a way to defend against them before disaster strikes. And that's the same thing I'm trying to do here. So let's hear her story, and then I'm going to dissect her strategy point by point. There's a really good video about this case that I've used clips and info from, by a channel called Japan Analytics. It's a really well done piece, and I think you'd enjoy it. I've left the link in the description box if you want to check it out. So now, meet Mai Watanbe, a young woman in her early 20s who used to be a simple student with a part-time job. Over the course of 4 years, she managed to perfect her scams and ended up receiving about $2 million from her victims. She might have gotten away with it too, except for her need for public attention. Scammers usually avoid the limelight, but not Mai, which ultimately led to her making 2 fatal mistakes. Not satisfied with her growing pile of cash, Mai decided to write a manual that detailed her strategy and sell it on social media to women who wanted to reproduce her lavish lifestyle. The manual cost $300, and she claims to have sold over 2,000 copies of it. She even offered one-on-one paid consultations for an extra fee. Then she decided it'd be a good idea to appear on the channel of a popular Japanese podcaster, where she openly discussed her methods and even showed her ill-gotten gains on camera. The interviewer asked if she'd paid any taxes on it, to which she replied that she hadn't even given it a thought. Meanwhile, one of her students that had purchased and used her manual was accused of scamming, and when the authorities looked on her phone, they found Mai's manual, which led them right to her door. Once she was arrested and appeared on the news, many of her victims recognized her and pressed charges, which sealed her fate. The court case against Mai is currently ongoing, but a resolution is expected soon. Mai was obviously young and in many ways naive, which led to her downfall. But what if she'd just kept her mouth shut? Can you imagine how much money she could have ended up with? So what was this method of hers and why is it so effective? Well, let's take a look, and while I'm explaining it, see if you can recognize any of the tactics that might have been used on you. According to Mai, one of the most important steps to achieving success in the scamming game is to choose the right target. You don't want to waste your time on guys that will never produce. That means no broke guys or guys that talk about being saddled with debt. She looks for men that are lonely and isolated, who don't have many dating options in their lives, and especially men that feel they have no purpose in life. She says to stay away from alpha chads and men who appear to be players, and avoid guys that talk about themselves a lot or show narcissistic tendencies because they're a lot harder to scam. A scammer should also avoid guys with lots of friends, men who have fulfilling hobbies, or guys who are deeply involved with their families. In other words, go for the weak animal that's separated from the rest of the herd. Men who are a little older, maybe divorced, without a lot of family ties. Men who spent their lives working and providing for others, who might feel they lack a clear purpose in life without anyone to protect. Guys who are thinking of giving another relationship a try, but don't see any good prospects, so they start reaching out to women online. If any of this sounds familiar, just know that you're the ones that scammers are looking for. But how do they actually get your money? Well, that brings us to step number 2. They have to gain your trust. One of Mai's guiding principles states that if a man doesn't trust you, he's never gonna give you money. So first, instead of just asking for money like a low-tier novice scammer, you have to take your time to build a fake relationship. Mai says to message a guy incessantly and insert yourself into his life. Text him first thing every morning, throughout the day, and always say goodnight. You have to make him believe that you mean something to them. Start making him feel like he's the one. You also want to learn as much as you can about him. What's his favorite food? What TV shows does he like? What is he looking for? If you can make him think you really care, he'll slowly start to trust you. And that's a big step towards getting into his wallet. Now, any of you that have talked to Filipinos will think they recognize this step. The intense day and night communications, the sudden interest in your life. But with Filipinas, this is a natural thing, even if you're talking to a good woman. So it'll be really difficult to see this behavior as a red flag. Yet. But let's keep going, because now it's finally time to go for the goodies. And here's the part of the strategy that separates the newbies from the pros. Mai says to suddenly cut off all communications with the guy for 2 or 3 days. The man will start frantically texting, but don't answer him or even read his messages. Let him become concerned about you. And when you finally respond, make sure you've come up with a story that puts you in danger. It could be a medical emergency. It could be an abusive boyfriend. It could be an imminent eviction from your apartment. But whatever it is, it should be something that can be solved with money. When you finally respond to the guy, tell him you've been too embarrassed to talk to him because you've gotten yourself into trouble. Don't give details, and do not ask for money. Pretend you're really hesitant to discuss it, and let the guy drag the information out of you, one little piece at a time. Once you've explained your fake situation, a guy's natural instinct is to come to the rescue. But you have to let him think it's his idea to fix it. Men are natural problem solvers, so just let him do what they do best. But even once money is offered, my advice is a scammer to say no the first time. Just let the guy insist, and then finally give in and take it. From the man's point of view, you never ask for any help, so his radar doesn't even pick up the deception. But the result is the same. So at this point, a lot of you folks are thinking back to conversations you've had with Filipinas and wondering why this sounds so familiar. Was it just a strategy? Was it a ploy? Well, once again, it's not uncommon for a Filipina to be in financial difficulty, so it can be hard to tell. But the tactic of cutting communications, not wanting to talk about her big problem, and initially refusing your money should raise some alarm bells, as these are the methods of an advanced scammer. What you should do at this point is to offer common sense solutions to her issue, but never offer financial assistance, because once you open the money fountain, the scammer will be happy to quench her thirst. If she's done a good job of gaining your trust and making you feel important, then it's gonna be a lot harder to refrain from opening your wallet. But this is the crucial point in the process, and it'll quickly reveal who you're dealing with if you don't offer cash. A scammer will grow tired of the charade and put her time and effort into someone else. But a good woman with real feelings will stick around and understand that you're not there to solve all her problems before you're even together. But let's say you screwed up and failed the test. You send her some money, so is that the end? Not by a long shot, according to Mai. In fact, the next step is the most important. Something she calls aftercare, where you make the guy feel like a white knight who succeeded in rescuing his damsel in distress. Tell him how he saved your life, how she'd be in big trouble without you, and then slip right back into the role of girlfriend, texting and showing concern for the guy, just like you did at the start. Mai says that after a few weeks, she'd just start the cycle all over again and milk the same guys until they had nothing left to give. Now, this strategy isn't really all that complicated. It's all in the execution. If a man has a generous heart and can be made to feel like he has something real to look forward to, then the sky's the limit. But how many women are actually cruel and heartless enough to do this? Well, that's anyone's guess. But let me put the economics of scamming into perspective for you. Although most scammers aren't quite this sophisticated and generally go for the money right away, there are all kinds of variations of this strategy, with some women seeking a long-term big haul and others just looking to see what they can get right now. You might start talking to a woman for just a day or two, and when she thinks you've got some kind of connection, she'll hit you with, "Well, I'd really like to keep talking to you, but my phone's out of load." In other words, if you want to keep talking, it'll cost you. Now, that only requires about 10 or 20 bucks to fix the problem. But look at it this way. For a hard day's work, the average Filipino only makes $10 a day. So you just gave her 2 days' wages for something that to you is no big deal. You can almost count on her coming back for more, and with a much bigger price tag next time. But let's say she's talking to 3 or 4 other guys and doing the same thing with all of them. That's $100 just for something as simple as load for the phone. She doesn't even have to go for the big scores like Mai did, and she'll still be making a very comfortable living. She doesn't feel like a monster because she can tell herself it's just pocket change for you. But when you do that, you encourage a bunch of other women to act the same way. Everyone in her circle of friends knows what she's doing as they head out the door to flip burgers for a few pesos. And it won't be long before they see the advantages too. Suddenly, you got armies of women doing it to varying degrees, which makes it a real problem for guys just looking for love. So do yourself a favor and don't even start down that road. Keep your money in your pocket, and I assure you, the woman you're talking to will survive. Well, that's it for this episode, and I hope you enjoyed hearing about the bizarre case of Mai Watanbe. Maybe this video will get you to think a little harder about your interactions, and if I help just one person, I consider it a success. I'll be back on Tuesday with who knows what, but I can promise you, it'll be interesting. Till then, folks. Okay, Mom, I did just like you said. I met this foreigner for lunch, and when it was over, he asked for my number. So I said, "Aw, I wish I could keep chatting with you, but my phone's out of load." And guess what? You were right. He offered to help me out. He said, "I'll give you my load." But instead of getting his phone out, he just kept staring at me and smiling. And then he asked me where I wanted to do it. So I said, "Well, I guess right here is fine." And he got the weirdest look on his face. So I figured he just didn't want anyone to know he was giving away free load. So I suggested going around the corner of the restaurant to that little alleyway. But that didn't suit him either. And he wanted me to follow him back to his hotel to get his load. And of course I said no way. So he just left. And I didn't get any of his load at all. What did I do wrong this time?
If you think about it, I'm kinda like a pirate, helping you navigate the tricky waters of Filipino culture and dating, and telling you how to find your first mate. Are you gonna listen to just anyone, or trust your Captain P to lead you to the booty? And you best be hitting that like button, subscribing to me channel, and hitting that notification bell, or I'll shiver your timbers and cut off your jib. And while we be sailing, why not feast your eyes on me other videos too? And yes, I'm a real pirate. I've got the sunken chest to prove it.